Well, guys, you know that I'm not a part of the whole Facebook selfie movement because I'm taking this shot from a lower angle. The whole thing about what the ladies do is they use that high angle to keep the neck fat to a minimum. Well, I'm in a different location today, and I forgot to bring that rubber bandy kind of mount that I used the last time. So we're going to be using this Semogue boar brush. These are the special grade bristles because this is the Semogue Owners Club, and this is the Taj handle. And I've had it soaking for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. Get those bristles nice and absorb the water, nice and wet. Going to be using, everything else is kind of an old theme, and so that's why I chose the boar for today. I brought a badger with me and a boar, and we are going to be doing a shave with vintage Williams mug soap, and it's got more tallow than the current Williams mug, so it's a nicer lather, even though Williams, the modern version, is very slick and I enjoy it quite a bit. It takes some work, it takes some technique. And continuing with the vintage theme, a wonderful vintage razor, the Gillette Slim adjustable. And what are we going to have him on? Let's start him with a 5. Yeah, see where that takes us, because we're not using just any old blade, and we're continuing use with my vintage, because it's got so many uses on it, my Gillette Nacet. Here's my little counting, the current area where I'm hitting my tally marks. So 255 is the number of shaves it has on it currently. Let's put another one on it today. And here's the Nacet. It's got the 3 dots, and over here is where the X used to be, and you should be able, my hands are in the way of me seeing the screen, and you should be able to see a slight change in reflection right there is the place where I actually bent the blade a little bit on use number around 225. Now I'm putting the dots toward the handle, so I'll just lay the blade into there, and because I'm keeping for this shave the blade oriented for this blade. I'm keeping it oriented the same direction each time. We'll see if that helps me to have some data. Normally I just randomly put it in the razor and it just ends up however it ends up. This is a vintage Gillette adjustable, and so once it gets tight, there's another quarter turn that you can turn to lock it down. And so that is something that I didn't know at first about the adjustables. I was thinking I was abusing it by turning it. I thought I was overturning it, but no, that's on purpose. One that's been damaged or something may not be able to do that quarter turn, but I've had a couple of razors like that, and it hasn't been a problem. Because as long as it's tight enough to hold the door shut during the shave, it works for me. All right. I got this cool C4 mug off eBay a year ago or something. I really like the vintage look of it. And so it's got the perfect shape for a Puck of Williams mug. I have had for several minutes just a little bit of water. I don't know, quarter teaspoon on the soap. I'm going to try something different with Williams today. I've got a bunch of Williams mug videos out there if you're interested in that soap. If you want to look up how to lather Williams mug, you can find, there's a good one from Romanoff, and then who else was pretty good? Nobody's jumping into my brain, but I've got a couple Sugar Daddy shaves if you want to find how to lather Williams mug soap. We're going to try something different today. I tried a mug only method of face lathering with it. I tried filling it. This was a month ago. I tried filling it with a certain amount of water and then taking the brush to it in the mug and really just kind of working it until the lather came out. And then I worked it on the face and stuff. Well, let's kind of try that a little bit, but I'm going to take my boar brush, pull it out. It's dripping wet. I'm sorry, but the little soap dish that I'm resting my phone on is not in front of the sink. And so now it's pretty much stopped dripping. I'm going to give it a couple of shakes. And so now I'm going to take that and start loading. Let's do a 30-second load. That might be too much, who knows. We're going to start when the timer hits 10. All right, there we go. And just see what we end up getting. We don't want it to be pasty. It should be very wet and bubbly. 20 seconds really may be all I need. That's 10 right there. It's very wet in there. Now it's starting to really, okay, that's 20 seconds. Okay, now it's starting to really get wet and sloshy and splash out. Let's go for another 10 more. So from 36 to 46 then. And I may end up with too much lather, who knows. And there we go. So that's 30 seconds. It's very wet. And so my goal here is I'm going to go to the bowl and start working this up. My goal here is to have enough soap on there for a full brush load of lather. And so then enough water on there for the same thing, a brush load of lather. That's my goal. So now I'm going to take it to my Roger Quintero lather bowl. Brush rest, pretty cool. Ridges inside to help with lather building. It's a 3D printed bowl. And so if you like the idea of that, you can have it printed online, or obviously you can print it on your own printer. Just you can download the files. You can go to his Thingiverse page, or I'll have the link for you in the description of this video. So right away, it was very bubbly, but it didn't take too long for it to start to look like lather. Now, I'm not going to be surprised if I have to add some water. It's not a big deal. One of the big things about Williams, two big suggestions I have if you want to be successful with Williams. My success has come with using it in a bowl. And so I can't offer as much facial shaving, facial lathering advice. But number one, pre-soak the puck with some water. Now look, we have got some thick lather right now. I bet I shouldn't have loaded for quite that long. But let's really get this worked, and then I can start adding some water. So the first tip is soak the puck. Just makes it easier. Second tip is, and this happens to so many people, don't quit on the lather. Meaning, most people, when they start working their Williams up, yeah, this is a dense lather. People don't get this from Williams. And it was, you saw me do it. It wasn't hard. And yeah, you may say, well, that's the vintage Williams. It's got better tallow. The modern one isn't too different. It is different. It's noticeable, but it's not that different. All right, well, I want to start adding water now. But my second point with don't give up on the lather is most people get this airy, wet, foamy stuff right in the beginning with Williams. And I don't know why they quit on that. I don't know why they don't think, hey, let's just keep mixing. But some of the time, all you need to do is just keep mixing it. Don't give up on that. And then that airy stuff means that you've got some soap in your brush that still needs to be worked. And then what we've probably got at that point is soap existing alongside of water. And it's just going to take some mixing to turn that into lather. And people, I think that, hey, you know, this just, it dissipates, it doesn't stay on your face very much, it's just not slick. Well, that's because they haven't really created a lather. And so now it could be they didn't load for long enough. If they didn't soak the puck and they loaded for 20 seconds, that may not be long enough with an unsoaked puck. I probably should have loaded this guy for like 15 seconds because I had soaked the puck beforehand. Because look at this lather. This is not what most people know as Williams. I'm inspired by this method here, and so I'm going to, just to prove my point, I'm going to shave with the modern Williams within like the next week or so, to show that it's not just the vintage Williams. That's the good one. All right, so I've got 3 teaspoons now of water in the lather. I'm going to end up with a lot of lather. The water at this location, I believe, is fairly soft, so that helps. But I've got hard water at home, and I've got no problem lathering Williams. Anyway, so if you've got that light, bubbly, airy lather, just keep mixing. Keep mixing. Now, if you're a person who needs to be in the hurry in the morning, and that's when you shave, then you may not have enough time. You may have to work to find a quick method with Williams, because it is an economical soap. It's super slick. I mean, really slick. It's slickness. And I say this with seriousness. 4 teaspoons now in the lather. I say this very seriously. Its slickness can compete with any soap out there. Anyone. Barrister and Man, Holy Cow, Noble Otter, Declaration of Grooming, anybody. It's just that it doesn't have any post-shave properties, and so if you like those, then Williams is not going to be for you. So, you get that bubbly, airy lather. Keep mixing. Just keep mixing. Now, if you keep mixing for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and it doesn't improve, it doesn't turn into something that looks a little more creamy, you see what I've got going here? Then you didn't load enough soap. If it turns dry, you didn't load enough, you didn't add enough water. So try again. But many times, if you loaded enough soap and you've got enough water in there, then when you mix, you will get to that point where it looks like all of a sudden, you know, it changes and you can't believe your eyes, and you've got something more like this. Got so much lather. So I've got 4 teaspoons in it. I want to reload the syringe, and this is why I use the syringe, so I can tell you how much water I've got in it, instead of just saying add water till it looks right. Especially in the case with Williams, with so many people who just think it's a junk soap because they don't know how to lather it. Now, some people call it a junk soap, not because they don't know how to lather, but just because they're not interested in putting forth the work, and they haven't discovered a quick way to do it. I don't think it's fair to call it a junk soap in that regard. Maybe call it a soap that just doesn't fit their needs, or a soap that just requires too much work. That's fair. Now, I'm having to mix this for quite a while because I loaded too much soap. I've got too much lather here. That's my fault. Matter of fact, I'm going to add, I can feel how slick this is when I'm rinsing off my fingers. 6 teaspoons of water now. Let's see what it turns in. I think I'm just going to shave with it at this point. I've got maybe a day and a half of growth today. So the Nacet may fuss at me a little bit. It doesn't like more than 1 day growth, usually. All right, let's look at how elastic and awesome this soap is. This looks like any good lather. It's not going to dissipate on my face either. All right, think we're ready. I'm going to get my face wet. Using cool water today. This brush feels great. It's not that old. Some of the tips have split, but it's just such a good bristle grade that it's a massagey kind of feel. It's not scratchy or scritchy at all. Now, as you're working in the round motions here, you may notice that you're not getting a lot of lather on your face, and that's normal because it's on the side of your brush. So every once in a while, rotate the lather from the side of your brush. This feels terrific. This is a big popular brush for Semogue. For this very reason, it will gradually open up and splay to a very large bloom. You know what I learned recently? The guy from CBL Soaps, in response to a question about buying a brush cleaning soap. You know, Declaration Grooming used to have one called the Brush Rejuvenator, very popular among enthusiasts, but he hasn't really made it much anymore. There are some other ones online. You can also go to websites like Ulta or Sally Beauty and look for brush cleaning soaps for cosmetic brushes, and I'm sure that would work fine for a shaving brush. But what the guy from CBL said, CBL is a soap, a shaving soap. He said just use a Puck of Williams. He said it's that kind of soap to where it's gonna, any oils, pretty much any oils that are on your brush, it's gonna have the right formulation to dispel those and take care of them. So that's pretty cool news, huh? Inexpensive. All right, lather looks good. It felt great putting it on. I think I've got the right water consistency here. So we are starting on a 5 setting. Let's see how that, oh, you know what? Let's bump it up to a 6 since I've got a 1.5 day growth. And it's an old blade. Normally I like the vintage razors here on a 2 or a 3 because I like a mild shave that still cuts closely. And for me, those settings work well with a younger blade. Some light tugging, but nothing of consequence. I like the quietness of this razor. I don't hear a lot of blade scraping or chatter because it's clamping down on that blade nicely. I'm sure with this amount of stubble, I'm going to have to do maybe a 4 or 5 pass shave. But we'll see. With the grain, there we go. A little quick rinse. I didn't feel as much stubble as I thought it would. So this aggressive setting may be just right. Okay, more lather. We've got tons of it. And this boar brush is just going to get softer with more use. It's going to get better and better. You can look in the description of the video and it'll tell you how many uses this brush has on it if you're curious, but just know that in the beginning of its life, under I mean, the stages of a boar brush's life. Let me kind of see if I can summarize that. You've got the initial phase where you just unbox the thing and you start using it, and it hasn't opened up very much. And it may even kill lathers. It may not hold nearly enough soap, and so you may have to go back to the soap puck before every shave, before every pass. And that's common for young boars. A quick rinse. Wow, yeah, that took off quite a bit of hair, so that's pretty cool. So that first stage is, and it's really frustrating if you've just bought a boar off Amazon or something and you don't know how they act. It can be very frustrating. That's that first stage. Now, there's some brushes where that stage lasts a month. With my Semogues, it seems like that stage lasts a week to 2 weeks. Now, it seems like if I soak my boar brushes for about an hour or 3 before each use with my Semogues, I was able to turn that, 8 or 15-day cycle into just a couple of days. And so you can sometimes speed up that initial process. Now, the second stage of a boar's life is where he opens up enough to where you are able to use him normally without having to go back for more lather from the soap puck. He may not have too many split tips, or if the tips are split, it's not very many. And that's where I am with a lot of my boars. And that's an area where I often get very good shaves. And that's good because it only gets better from there. That was a good pass because I could probably walk away after just those 3 passes. Let's pause and let me check out my beard here. All right, so my face is fine, but my neck needs another pass. So that second stage can last for a good while. It all depends on the brush. There are probably some Omegas that will have that second stage, and they'll be kind of scritchy and scratchy and prickly for a couple of years while they're in that stage. Now, I've never had a Semogue or a Zenith be prickly or scratchy like that at all. But Omegas are different in some cases. I think I got the perfect lather consistency today. Very wet, but creamy. All right, there we go. I'm going to pause you while I check things out. Now, I do have several hairs in my trouble spot area which have too much length on them, and so I might have to try this razor again to see if I can get a little better results. But this may not be one that I continue on with a Nacet. Or maybe next time I bump it up and I use it at a 7 instead of a 6. So that could be the thing too. But comfortable shave, just light tugging on that first pass, and just 3.5 passes, which is kind of my normal, even with young blades. And I've got tons of lather left over, like I said. So that second stage can last quite a while, where the tips haven't really split. You know that forthcoming is quite a bit of extra softness, but it's still, could possibly be extremely enjoyable during that second phase of a boar's life. This is how much lather I had left over. And look, it is moving. So we know we've got some hydration there. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. That is good stuff right there. Like I said, this is the vintage Williams, and so the lather's going to be a little better. It's so slick. This is maybe on the wet side of perfect, at least in terms of my own preferences. But it was a very enjoyable shave. It's got a wonderful, luxurious feel when you're talking about just moving the lather around like this. When you're talking about contact slickness, it starts to thin out just a little bit, but it provides excellent slickness to do the job. So that third stage in a boar's life, to me, is where, it's fully bloomed open as much as it's basically going to go. The tips have split quite a bit, almost as much as they're going to, and so now you're experiencing the maximum softness that brush is going to offer. And so it may be even bloomed so much that you have to use an O-ring to bring the bloom in a little bit to focus those tips at your face. But it's arrived at the softness, and it'll stay that way for a long time. And in many cases, it's done that for you for just $15 initial investment when you look at the cost of many Omegas and some basic Zeniths and many Semogues. Just a very low cost option that eventually will turn into an excellent brush. So those are my 3 stages of boar brush development. So we got early on where they're difficult to work with, maybe super frustrating. You might have to go back to the soap puck before each pass of lather, and they sometimes don't hold very much water and that sort of thing. They haven't yet bloomed and opened up. Second stage is they're starting to be more workable and maybe enjoyable, and many brushes like Semogues and Zeniths will be comfortable at this stage, and you enjoy shaving with them. They do the job. You don't have to go back to the puck for more soap unless it was your own fault, and so they're very functional and delightful during this phase. But they're just not as soft as they're going to be, and they haven't splayed open as much as they're going to be, and the tips haven't split all the way yet, because that is the third stage. So hopes that helps you guys out. I'm going to put that on my website, create a new page for that. I think that's helpful info, because I was caught off guard. I bought a Semogue 830 off Amazon. That was my first boar brush, and I was killing myself trying to get that thing to lather for the first week. I think maybe 10 days later, I found instructions that they do break in, and maybe that helped me, because eventually it did break in and work really well. And I was like, this is why people use these things, and I was very happy. All right, well, that was a wonderful lather. I will bump up the setting on the Slim. I may even use him tomorrow, but on this trip, I did bring my carve with me, so I may use it tomorrow with, just to be a little bit, a little variation to the situation. All right, Nacet, you are still churning. You're still giving good shaves. And the vintage Williams, as you could see, was awesome. And we're going to stay vintage with some Old Spice, and this is the original formula. Just, you know how it smells? A spicy, big, burly man hug in a heterosexual kind of way. I like it. Nice. Nice. All right, well, I'm gonna put away my gear. I'll be right back. So that was a bloomed puck of soap, 30-second load, 6 teaspoons of water. Gave me that much lather, and I probably had 3 extra passes, maybe 4 extra passes of lather. So those are the stats. All right, feeling good. Didn't really have any sting with the aftershave. So we got a good technique today, and that's the benefit of a smoothed out blade. All right, well, that was a really enjoyable shave. This Puck of Williams is doing great. The modern version, I got about 60 shaves using my bowl lathering kind of technique. Some people just get 30 shaves from it. I've seen other guys get 90 from it, so that can definitely vary. Just a great shave. I like Old Spice, and the Slim did well. We'll bump it up to another notch tomorrow or soon. I think I'm going to use my carve tomorrow with the, I believe I have a C open comb plate that we'll use with the Nacet and see how it goes. All right, man, I'm just impressed by how fast this brush is coming along. It's a relatively new acquisition. I do have the wooden handled version of the Semogue Owners Club, but here this is the Taj version, and I just couldn't resist. And I think it's got a slightly thicker handle. It's just as comfortable as the other ones, maybe just a little bit more so. And it can get slippery if it gets really sudsy, but just a quick rinse, and I haven't really had too much of a problem with that. So I'm really liking it, and as you can see, with just that bit of towel stropping, it has dried some of the tips enough to where you can see how some of them are splitting already. The ones from the outside of the knot are usually, in my experience, the ones that you'll notice splitting quicker. And then once you get those middle ones going, this is already a wonderful, comfortable brush. It's just going to get better and better. It's fun to watch it grow. I think there's just a certain, almost like a relationship you have with your brush as you watch it grow and experience that. So I like boars. I like boars a lot. All right, now, I sure hope that there's been something in this video that is going to help you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. You take care. Have a good day.